been thinking a lot about masks lately, and I've come to the realization that they are possibly the most versatile invention ever created by the human species. I mean, there are heaps of different types of masks. There are masks that can help you rob banks, induce childhood trauma, take over cities, grant you some degree of magical immunity, grant you some degree of viral immunity, help you conquer galaxies. Like I said, they're versatile. But there's another mask. In fact, it's the one that I'm wearing right now. And I would also probably argue that if you're watching this video on your phone right now, you're wearing it too. That mask, my friends, is what I like to call the social media mask. I know, I'm very creative. Anyway, the social media mask is not so much a physical mask, but more of a concept. The mask is the idea that every time you jump online, you become a different person. Now, this isn't always bad. I'm not saying that you jump online and you automatically become a genocidal maniac, although for some people, unfortunately, they might. What I am saying is that when you jump online, you're more likely to act more confidently, more edgy, and say things in a way that you probably wouldn't be able to say in the real world. And I'm sure you all know what I mean. On Facebook, it's the statuses. On Instagram, it's the photos. YouTube, it's the comments. And Reddit, well, it's kind of everywhere. In all these places, not all the time and not everyone, but a lot of people, a lot of the time, putting on the mask, creating an enhanced persona, and portraying themselves in a way that isn't exactly sincere to their real world personality. Now look, I know the idea of having a slightly different personality in different circumstances isn't a revolutionary idea. When you go for a job interview, or you're dealing with a dim-witted customer, or you're meeting your girlfriend's parents for the first time, you're normally putting on a little razzle-dazzle. It's natural, and in my opinion, it's necessary. It shows that you value how they think about you and that you're trying to make a good impression. Provided, of course, you're not a genuine manipulative psychopath. But on the internet, I feel like it's different, because it's not the real world. Online, you're not talking to your future in-laws or your boss or a Karen. You're talking to everyone. And don't act like you don't know it either. Every post, every comment, every photo, your mind is ticking over the entire theater of people that are going to see it. Let's take a look at my Instagram, for example. I mainly post photos of me and my friends and my family. I like it, it makes me happy. But I've kind of cultivated this persona. I don't really post photos of myself that much because it doesn't really fit what I'm trying to portray. If we scroll down a little bit further, I used to post a lot of photos of my travels. And the way I took those photos and the things I took them of and the way that they're arranged really does make it kind of seem like it was something that I did on the regular. But the reality is, I was on holiday. I just took some photos. That's it. Now I want to say that this in and of itself is not necessarily a bad thing. Wearing a mask can be fun, it can be useful, it can actually be necessary. I'm also not saying that everyone is a polar opposite of what they post online. You know, sometimes a gym selfie is just a gym selfie. The problem I think comes when people don't realize that they have a mask on in the first place. Or worse, when they can't see that other people are wearing masks too. We've seen time and time again influencers literally suffering from depression and still posting that smiling bikini photo or flexing that new car or holiday. And we've seen people post things in support of a cause and then go and do things that are a blatant contradiction to that. It's really hard to not get caught in the delusion that what people are showing is a real representation of them and their lives. It's simply not true. Some of the best looking, rich, successful people are the most miserable on the planet. But the online mask doesn't just influence the perceptual image that we put out, but also our behavior in what we say and how we say it. That's why it's so dangerous to not be aware if you're wearing a mask or not online. Because you can confuse your online and real life personalities and then end up saying something that will get you in trouble. Essentially, the mask makes us more courageous, both in good ways and bad. Sometimes people who are extremely shy or struggle socially can use social media as a way to express themselves and be heard. Same goes for people who might be suffering under a dictatorship. At other times, it could be a bunch of people talking shit like in an old school Call of Duty lobby, knowing damn well that if they were to have this conversation in person, they would shy away with their tail between their legs, or they probably just wouldn't be as much of a dick. When online, people feel somewhat protected. They have a certain level of anonymity that makes them be able to voice their opinion with complete disregard for the consequence. The mask gives them a chance to feel like what they say matters. Bane was kind of right with the whole no one cared who I was until I put on the mask thing. Except still no one cares, you just have more confidence now because you don't have to deal with the immediate consequences of your actions. It's like, have you ever been in the car with your mates and you're blaring music just acting like absolute flogs? We all have, and we all hate to admit that it's actually pretty fun. You feel like your own little entourage of rock stars. But my point is this: you might shout out the car at a group of people, or beep the horn, or do whatever it is that you guys do. But you do that because you know that your identity is somewhat hidden, and that you're not going to suffer any immediate consequences. The pedestrian isn't going to chase your car, the cops probably aren't going to pull you over, and no one in the city knows who you are. You can say what you want, which you do because you suddenly have more courage, and know that the chances of getting caught or in trouble are very small. But you definitely wouldn't throw out gang signs to a group of guys in the street if you were walking past them, because you wouldn't have the mask on. That's the power that the social media mask provides. More confidence, more anonymity, less accountability. And the deeper your identity is hidden, say on Reddit or YouTube, where you could use a different avatar with a completely different name, the more likely you are to say crap without considering the consequences. You can almost say whatever the hell you want, even if you wouldn't be able to say that in the real world. Of course, depending how you use this could be a beautiful thing. It's a blessing and a curse. Now, there are definitely other ways that the social media mask can affect people individually, but I want to move on to what happens in a society when everyone is wearing a social media mask. I feel like to some degree, we're in that situation right now. There are a lot of ways that it affects society, but I think the most prominent one is that it creates inauthentic people. FYI, the social media mask doesn't have to just revolve around insults and negativity. It can also lean the other way. It can be an overly nice facade. Now, this on its own, I don't think is such a horrible thing. The whole world would probably do well to be a bit nicer to each other. But what happens when the niceness, the mask niceness, becomes the gold standard of how we interact in the real world? When people are expected to live up to these standards of niceness that no real human could possibly uphold 24/7. Remember, when people are online, they have the time to curate their messages and posts and answers to questions. They can backspace, delete, Photoshop, copy and paste. In the real world, it's far messier. We often say things off the cuff, or we get nervous and say the wrong thing, or we're unsure and we might be too scared to ask for clarification. And I think this is often forgotten. Now, this is not in defense for people that have said and done very obvious wrong things. People definitely should be held accountable for what they say and do. But I think that they should be held to realistic human standards, not these standards we've created based on these fake masks that we all wear online. Look, your favorite celebrity is gonna f up at one point. They're gonna say or do something wrong, or they already have and it's just waiting to be dug up in the online archive. Should they face consequences relative to their actions? Yes, absolutely. But more often than not, they're kind of exiled, which only reinforces the wearing of these social masks. Instead of saying, hey, this person has done wrong, let's tell them, accept their apology, and provided that they fix their problem, move on, we instead kind of double down on their mistake. We make TikToks and Facebook posts and Twitter threads, and we kind of humiliate them into silence. But a lot of us kind of only do that because we feel the strength in numbers. Everyone else who has a mask on can say slurs and abuse that person. So when you put your mask on, you feel like you can do the same. But if you were to sit in a room alone with them and actually discuss their actions, you probably wouldn't be so opinionated about it. It's far more likely that you would at least be a little empathetic and try and work through their problem, as opposed to just ridiculing them and making them feel like shit. I feel like by doing this, people make other people scared to say things for fear of being exiled by the community. And what that does is just make people inauthentic. It creates inauthentic news anchors and politicians and influencers, all the people that we look up to direct where our culture is headed. This kind of cancel culture, which is bred from people wearing these social masks in the first place, only makes people wear these masks tighter. Even when they're sleeping, it kind of makes some people never take them off. And I want to say again that this isn't in defense of people that have obviously done terrible things or said terrible things. It's just a more general view. Now look, I made this video because I was trying to look deeper into my own motives for social media and how I portray myself online. And I think it's important that we question how and why we do and say things online, and that we are comfortable with our answers. For example, I don't want to be someone who says stuff online, but then would be too scared to say that in person. And I want to be comfortable with the person that I portray online. And I think that I do a relatively good job of that. I think the photos and posts that I make are a pretty good reflection of who I am as a person in real life. Now, as for you, my dear viewer, feel free to portray yourself however you want online. It's not for me to tell you what to do. But I think that it is helpful to have a think about this stuff every once in a while, just to make sure that you're happy with both your online and real life personalities. This is a little bit of a chaotic video, so hopefully I made sense. Let me know what you guys think about what I've said in the comments. It's pretty interesting discussion to have. Thanks heaps for watching. Love you all. I'll see you next time.